Good morning, everyone. Good week. Shavua Tov. We're learning a book written by the first Rebbe of Chabad, Rebbe Shneur Zalman. He also wrote the book, the Tanya, about 250 years ago. And it talks about God, it talks about the Jewish people, it talks about the world, the Torah, how to fit them all together, how the Jewish people are holy, and we have the job to make the whole world holy. And how that can only be done through the Torah, but through loving God, loving the Torah, loving every Jew, loving the world, love, just like to reflect God's love. In order to do that, you have to be genuine. You can pretend to love something, but we're not asking you to pretend. I mean, if there's no other choice, then you have to pretend. But the goal is not to pretend. The goal is to genuinely love God. And there's all these different levels. As soon as you open up the door to loving God and appreciating God, there's infinite levels of love. And also of fear and awe of what God is. And that's what God expected from the Jewish people. And the Jewish people have constantly let him down, but God does not give up. That's what we read in the Haftorahs, in these special portions that we read from Isaiah in these 7 weeks, that even though God is very disappointed with the Jews, but he will never leave them. And the reason he's disappointed is because he expects from them so much, and no one else can produce except for the Jews. And the Jews, they want to be like everybody else. But eventually it won't work that way, and the Jews will produce what God wants. They'll come to love God and appreciate God and teach the whole world to do the same. And for this end, God gave them the Torah. And through the generations, he's revealed more and more of his love to the Jewish people through the different prophets and writings. And that one of the examples is this Rebbe, the Rebbe. Our Rebbe, and also the teachings that we're learning now that are called the teachings of Hasidut, teachings of Moshiach, Torah HaMashiach. This is the idea of Mashiach. The world has totally, I'd say, confused and improperly defined what Mashiach is. People don't understand what the Mashiach is. True, Mashiach will be the son of God because he'll be a Jew. Every Jew is the son of God. But that doesn't mean that he can make up his own laws. It means that he will inspire everyone to do what it says in the Torah, clearly, what the rabbis have declared and what the rabbis have explained in the Talmud and the laws in the Shulchan Aruch, as Mashiach will inspire all the Jews to do that from love, and will inspire all the non-Jews to do the 7 Noahide commandments. Okay, but it all depends on the Jewish people, and here we go. Moses, before he goes into the land of Israel, he is teaching the Jews, explaining to them how they've made mistakes in the past, how they shouldn't do it in the future, and how they probably will make mistakes in the future. But don't worry about it. God is not going to leave them, and that God is encouraging them. Here it goes. Ra'eh, see. That's the name of this week's Torah portion. Ra'eh, see. Moses speaking to the Jews. Anochi noten lifnechem. I am putting before you. Who is this I? It's God. Why isn't God speaking? God is speaking. God is speaking through Moses and through all the prophets that come after him. There's criteria for prophets, by the way. First of all, a prophet has to be Jewish. Second of all, a prophet has to encourage the Jewish people to do what the rabbis say and to avoid what the rabbis forbid. That's a true prophet. Re'esi, Anochi noten lifneichem hayom. Look, see, I am putting before you today bracha v'klala, a blessing and a curse. Now, right before the Jews are going into the land of Israel, so Moses reports to them that God is giving them a blessing and a curse. What is the blessing? It says the blessing is as if you do the words of God, or that you will do the words of God, and the curse is if you don't do what God says. So it says, see, I have given you today, hayom, today. Hine, behold, Omer Razal, the rabbis, that's what sentence says in the Torah. Now let's see what the commentary of the Rebbe. So again, this is the first Rebbe of Chabad, Rabbi Shneur Zalman, about 250 years ago, in a book called Likuti Torah. Hine, behold, Omer Razal, call makom, any place in Amar where it says hayom, like it says here, hayom, and putting in front of you today. It doesn't mean today back then, 3,300 whatever years ago. Who nitzchi, it is forbidden. I'm sorry. Who nitzchi, it is forever. Ula olam, and eternal. Hayom, even today. Hazeh, even this day. When it says today, it means right now. Right? Today is something that never stops. So it's always today. Always today. It never stops. I'm muting somebody over here. Sorry, nothing personal. Just, okay, this background noise. So God is saying this to us today. Look, I am putting in front of you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing is if you do what God says, and the curse is the opposite. Lahavin to understand this. Bekan from here, Begam Milas, and also Milas Lifnechem. What does it mean? I am putting for you in front of you today the blessing and the curse. What type of blessing and curse is God putting in front of us right now today? Also, what does it mean? I am putting Lifnechem means before you. Why does it say before that? It said I am giving, I am putting to you. Anochinoten lochem, I am giving to you. It should say, it should say lochem. Excuse me. What does it mean that God says I'm giving it before you? I'm laying it on the table in front of you. Say I'm giving to you a blessing and a curse. But the answer is like this. This is speaking to the Jews, right? Now the Jews are God's chosen people. Very important principle. The Jews are God's chosen people. All of the Torah was given to the Jews. All the laws in the Talmud and etc. That's only for the Jews. Within the Torah, there's also what's called 7 Noahide commandments. That's also for the non-Jews. Yes, it's true. But that comes through the Jews. It comes through the Torah and through Moses and through the Jews. So the Jews are the ones that are important. The Jews are the chosen people. What were we chosen for? We're chosen to tell the non-Jews how much God loves them. And we're chosen to teach the non-Jews how to serve the Creator, how to appreciate the Creator properly. The non-Jews believe in God, but they're just confused. They're told that it's a person, that it's a this. And the only way to serve God is through what's called the 7 Noahide commandments. But that means you have to genuinely understand what God is. And that's the purpose of the Jews. That's what we're chosen for. Okay, now in every single Jew, there's what's called penimiut ubechinetz chitzoniut. There's the inside and the outside. Inside and outside. Let's take an example. What does it mean inside and outside? You ever been to a movie? You ever see a movie before? Sometimes there's really good actors. So these actors that are really acting, like they really know how to act. Like you watch them, it's like you're watching a human being. It's not a movie. You see genuine emotions and genuine speaking and genuine with danger and love and this and it's not genuine at all. It's not genuine at all. It's what's really genuine. They want to be good actors. That's what's genuine. They want to do their job well. That's their true inner motivation, is that they want to be considered to be a good actor, just like a good painter wants to be a good painter and this, but that's not them. That's not the person himself. At least in painting, you're doing something outside of yourself. An actor is, so to speak, that he's presenting himself, but that's not himself. That's not himself. That's just the way he portrays emotions, the way he portrays. That's what's called external. What's internal? What he really loves inside. Maybe he has children, he has a wife, he has principles in life. He should have, right? He should have. That's what's called chitzonis upenibius. Inside and outside. Hine, behold. Now here we're talking about serving the Creator. The serving the Creator, you can act. And you come to believe that there is a Creator. Good, so you should act accordingly, so you act. But then there's also the inside. Wow, I'm really being created. That's really true. I'm being created, right? Wow, that's really amazing. You come to love God, an intimate, infinite relationship between me and God. He's creating me. Why not? He's creating me all the time. Why shouldn't I love him all the time? At least he's creating me genuinely. He's genuinely creating us. At least I should genuinely thank him. That's what's called the inside, being genuine. Hine, it says, panim b'panim, diber Hashem emochem. It says that on Mount Sinai, this was just a couple of weeks ago, we read in the Torah, that when God spoke to the Jews, he spoke to them, it says, face to face. B'shat Kabbalat Torah, when the Jewish people received the Torah, nimshach l'kol echad, was drawn down to each and every Jew, bechinas havaya, the level of God, this aspect of God. God has a lot of different names. And the different names of God, those are different aspects of God. How God creates the world, how God is kind, how God is severe, how God is loving, how God is forgiving, how God is unforgiving. How God connects to us, how God listens to our prayers. That's the level of Yud Kei Vav. That's God's name. That's what's called the inside name of God. It's written Havaya, but it's really just mixed up the letters. The letters are supposed to be Yud, and then Hey, and then Vav Hey. That's the name of God. Usually I wouldn't explain it to you, but he's going to explain it in the mimer, so it's necessary. The name of God is Yud, and then Hey, and then Vav. And you're not supposed to say that name. Not supposed to say any name of God. Unlike, right, the people who do say it, they're mistaken. You're not allowed to do it. It's one of the 7 Noahide commandments. You're not supposed to take the name of God lightly. So here we have the Yud Kei Vav Kei. Bechinas panim. When God gave us the Torah, He gave it to our inside. Shalaem bechinat panim shalhem. It gave it to the inside of the Jews. Face, the word for face also means inside. I mean, I imagine the reason why is because your face reveals who you are in your inside, unless you're a really good actor. But I guess that's what makes a good actor, that he knows how to make his face look like he's genuine. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so panim, the word panim means face, but it also means inside. So God spoke face to face, or you can say inside to inside, genuine to genuine. Shalem, b'chol nitzutz, and every single spark of their souls. Mount Sinai, when God gave the Torah Mount Sinai, He revealed His true self to the true self of every Jew. Now, by the way, what is the true self of every Jew? What's the true self of every human being? The true self of a human being is responsibility. That's your true self. Interacting with the world in a responsible way. Your true self is not sitting up in a mountain and suddenly realizing, maybe you can get to some sort of an aspect of your consciousness or something like that. You can freak out. But that's not true human being. A true human being is knowing how to interact with the world in a positive way. Like I said this so many times before, this Professor Viktor Frankl, he is the proponent of this whole idea. But I mean, this is like the basis of Judaism, is the basis of life. Your soul is your responsibility, your interaction with the world, how you react. That pulls out your inside. That pulls out your inside. Some people don't like this. Some people don't want responsibility. That's why the Jews worship the golden calf and all that, because they don't want it. But that's a true inside of everybody, that's your soul, your uniqueness. How you are in the world, how you react to the world, how you contribute to the world, your attitude toward the world. That's the inside. In every spark of their souls. That's what it means when they received the first word of the 10 commandments. I am God, your God. Perish, what does it mean? Means this name of God, Anochi, Hashem, I am God, Elokecha, your God. 2 names of God. Elokecha means, but what does it mean, my God? What does that mean, my God? God can be mine. He belongs to me, like my car. What does it mean? I am. That's the first of the 10 commandments. I am God, your God. 2 different names of God. Yud Kei Vav Kei, we said that's the essence name of God. And He became your God. By the way, this is singular. Your God. The name of God shined. Umitkalen was revealed b'cha in you. Kol kach so much. Ad nikra till it's called on your name. Liot Elokecha, that it is your God. Elokim shelcha. It becomes a personal, deep, intimate relationship between you, private, between you and God. That's what happened on Mount Sinai. That's what's called genuineness. That's what's called the inside. Let's explain this. How is the Bechinas Shem Havaya? How it is that the name of God is found in every single person. What does this mean that God revealed his name inside of me for all time, inside of me, inside of every single Jew? And the Jews want to reveal this in the whole world. But the Jews have to get it first. Okay, Hine, Omer Azal, the rabbi said, now we're going to explain where is the name of God inside of you, inside of me. Hine, behold, the reason I don't say inside of me is that people might say, oh, why just inside of Rabbi Bolton? Why not inside of all? So it means inside of each and every human being, each and every Jew first. Hine, Omer Azal, the rabbi say, Afilu Rashoim, even evil, bad Jews, and there are such things, Malayim Charatos, they are filled with regret. Shenoflim Lam Heruri Tshuva, that all of a sudden they get thoughts that they're doing wrong. Machmas, because She'enu Rotza, because he doesn't want to be Nifrad Me'HaKodesh Baruch Hu, separate from God. This is not logical at all. Because Bechinas Zu, this level, he bought Bechinas Chachma. This comes from what's called Chachma, the highest of the 10 aspects of the soul. Okay, in the regular world, this is called conscience. Right? Suddenly the guy's conscience bothers him. He's going to steal money from his grandmother, and his conscience bothers him. What am I doing this for? What? And he wants to do some sort of a thing that he knows is wrong. Everyone else is doing it. Everyone else is doing it. But he says, I can't do it, my conscience bothers me. That's just why does it, everyone else is doing it, all the professors are doing it, all the doctors, whatever the thing is that everybody's doing. But his conscience bothers him. Like communism in Russia. Everyone was a communist. Every normal person was a communist. Everyone, the media was a communist, and the professors were communists, and everyone was communist. Stalin was our father, and everybody loved him. And one person said, my conscience bothers me. I can't do it. But you're going to get put into jail. What can I do? My conscience bothers me. I can't just take people just because they have money and shoot them in the back of the head. I can't do it. I can't put all these people into jail just because Stalin suspects them of something, right? There were people that were like that, right? That their conscience bothered them. They couldn't, why it didn't make any sense, but just suddenly they felt the truth. Well, a Jew can feel bad. His conscience can feel bad if he doesn't keep Shabbat. Why don't they keep Shabbat? Right? All of his friends don't. I know there's a lot of cases, especially now in Israel, where they're these super duper leftist, atheists, anti-religious, and they don't eat not kosher. They won't eat, they can't put the snails in their mouth. Or they put on tefillin every day. But super duper hate the religious people, can't stand the sight of them, right? And they can't stand it, but they don't eat on Yom Kippur. Why don't they? They're ashamed of it. They're even ashamed, but they don't. Because something inside of them tells them, that's the inside, tells them. Okay, yes, I'm sure that somebody's going to say, and if you don't, at least I'll say it, that sometimes conscience can get derailed. In Russia, for instance, the communists, you felt pangs of conscience if you didn't give your parents in, or your next door neighbor had money, and he didn't say, you felt, right? It says that 1/3 of the people in communist Russia, they were spies. Everyone was spying on everybody else. Your conscience told you have to do it for the good of the people. Okay, so conscience also can be, how do you say, deformed. True, it's true. But that doesn't take away the fact that there is such a thing as true conscience. Doesn't take it away. And here we're saying when God gave the Torah, he woke up the inside level of every Jew, if you want to call it the Jewish conscience of every Jew, and there's another name for that is Chachma. Chachma is the highest of the 10 Sfirot, and it's above Bina. Bina is understanding. Chachma is life. They translate it as wisdom, but that's sort of That's sort of a, how do you say, misnomer, a little bit. Chachma really means life. It's something that's above understanding. If you want to call it conscience, a connection to the truth, a connection to what's above understanding. Is bittul. This is total surrender to God, above any understanding or logic, musag, which can be grasped. And nikra, this is called maskil. This is called maskil al davar. This is called, what do you call it? Maskil al davar, awareness of something. You're aware of God. And it is written, maskil eitan ezrachi. One of the Psalms of King David. King David's Psalms are filled with all sorts of amazing mysteries. Amazing, amazing mysteries. Because King David, his whole life was just God. Was nothing except for God. He ate God, he slept God, he talked, thought, everything was God. But he was the king. Very rarely did he do things that were like religious things. He was fighting all sorts of battles, and he had all these wives, and he had to conduct the country, and everybody hated him, and his sons hated him, and he was eventually driven from his kingship by his own son, drove him out. He had a lot of troubles. He had to decide laws, internal battles and external battles. And one of the things he said, but one of his psalms, though, it says, Maskil eitan ezrachi. When he was talking about what is really motivating for all this, him to do this, to be a king against all this amazing, ridiculous opposition and hatred, and so he said, Maskil eitan ezrachi. What's this? Oh, maskil. So maskil means a contemplation. To eitan ezrachi. A maskil means a contemplation. Eitan ezrachi was a person, but Kabbalistically, this means something a little bit different. Maskil is this awareness of God. Le'etan, to the ancient one. Ha'ezrachi, that will shine. What's this mean? We'll see. Ki maskil, that he is pirish maskil, that he is contemplating. He is aware, liot eitan, that there is this level of eitan, the ancient one, milashon chizuk. Also, eitan also means to be strong, powerful. It's ancient because it's so firm and strong. Kamo eitan moshavecha, like your dwelling will be set. Eitan moshavecha. One of the blessings. Eitan moshavecha means that your how do you say, your situation will be firm. Eitan moshavecha. Firm means powerful. I think this is the blessing for Levi. I have to look and see. This is one of the blessings that Moses gave in the Sota Bracha. I think it's the Levi. I have to look and see. Ki, because Bechina Zu, this level, he Bechinas Chazakat, this level of Eitan, this is the power, Shenit Chazek B'Kol Echad, which is in every single Jew. Ma'od Bechinas Kasha, or if that's what it means, the Jewish people are a stiff-necked people. This is good. They can be stiff-necked for bad, they can be stiff-necked for good. A Jew can be at Mount Sinai, he can see God, hear God, and he says, I'm going to worship idols. That's it. Nothing can stop it. On the other hand, he can be in the Holocaust, and he's going to say, I'm going to serve God. I am going to serve God. Nothing is going to stop me. You can do what you want. You can take away all of the reasons for serving God and all the logic and all anything that, good that's supposed to happen to a human being is not here for me. Right? These people were thrown into the concentration camps, into Siberia, into whatever, and they still held on to the Judaism. This has been going on for 3,000 years, since the temple has been destroyed for 2,000 years. What makes the Jewish people hold on to their Judaism? This crazy stubbornness. Eitan, where does it come from? Why are they stubborn? For what? Why are they stubborn? And the answer is that there is no reason. There's no logic. They're not getting anything out of it, except for the truth. Except for the truth. Like it says, Ki am kashe oravu, like it says, because the Jewish people are a stubborn, stiff-necked people, and I will forgive them. This is Moses asking God to forgive them. 13 attributes of mercy. Like it says in another place, because this is a simple will, belief, shum, tam, without any reason or intellect, which is comprehensible. V'gam osios eitan, and also the letters eitan moshavecha. This also means eitan, it will be eitan lati lavo in the future. La'atir in the future lavo yiyah bechinas chachma. This aspect of God's, we said chachma, of the seeing of God, if you want to call it. Your conscience is certain 100% that God exists and that every word of the Torah is true without any doubt whatsoever. And all of the logic and all of the proofs in the world to the contrary have no relevance. That's what's called eitan. That's why it's powerful. Bechinas bitul, total surrender to God. And this can be revealed in every single Jew. Especially in the Maimonim about Purim, they have this one. Haman was ruling over the world, and Haman said that anyone who says I'm not Jewish will be left alive. And all the Jews said we're Jewish. Haman just said deny. He made a decree to kill and destroy all the Jews. And if he just said I'm not a Jew, you won't be killed. There was not one Jew that took that option and said I'm not a Jew. Why? What did they get out of it? Truth. From that we get the holiday of Purim. That's what the Jewish people are here today. Which is not the case. Now, Haruach Shtus, the spirit of insanity, Mechaseu, covers over this stubbornness of the Jews to connect to the truth. It covers it over. Shadome Beinav, Shodena Biyadu. So it seems that they are still Jewish. A Jew does a sin, he says, I'm a good Jew. Very, very common. I think I told you about this, but I'll tell it to you again. Some newspaper reporter in Israel, this was years ago. So they had one of these long-range microphones. And the media in Israel, anyway, I don't want to get into names, but anyway, there's certain, they hate, especially any politicians that don't hold with the left, the leftist line. You know, we have to give away lands to the Arabs and we have to do this. Anyway, so there was one of them and that was non-religious, and they caught him saying with this long-range microphone, they caught him saying something about another Knesset member that he's not a good Jew. Doesn't keep Shabbos, he doesn't whatever, he's not a good Jew. He's not a Jew, he doesn't believe in anything. And he himself doesn't believe in anything. So all of the media was up, look what he said about this guy that he does, that he's not a good Jew. And the person that he said about, he says, who's he to say that I'm not a good Jew? He's not a good Jew. He doesn't do anything. And he says, what do you mean I don't do anything? I'm not a good. And the fact of the matter is neither one of them did anything as far as Judaism goes. But to say he's not a good Jew, who are you to tell me, you just because you've got a beard and you have tzitzis on and you do the command, you think that makes you a better Jew than me? Right? You're not a better Jew than me. Okay, I mean, he's got a point. The fact of the matter is that just because you have a beard and it just doesn't make you more or less of a Jew than anybody else. Right? A Jew is a Jew, but that's the whole point. It is Judaism does not depend on doing anything Jewish. If a person was, let's say, a Muslim, but he didn't do anything Muslim, nothing, he's a Catholic, he didn't believe in anything in Catholic, so he's not a Muslim anymore, he's not a Catholic anymore. That's it, he's out, right? Doesn't believe in anything, not one thing that these religions believe in. So he's not, here you have a Jew, doesn't believe in one thing that Judaism says, and he's, not only is he a Jew, he's jealous. Who are you to tell me that I'm not a good Jew? Because that's the inner point of Judaism in every inside of every Jew. And it's really true. That's what's held us for the last 2,000-3,000 years. Key, because La'ati love in the future, this level of chachma, this level of inner connection to God, bechinas bittul, this what we call eitan, this inner surrender and connection with God, it'll be revealed in every single Jew. Then suddenly we'll feel the truth. Which is not now. Now, a ruach shtus, there's a feeling of insanity. Mechaseu covers it over. The doma beinav, and it seems to a person shodeno biyadu, and he still is a Jew. I mean, maybe we can take an example from the world now. I don't want to get into trouble over here, but now there's this big movement over here in America that males don't have to be males. There's like 57 different sexes, genders. There's 5,900, whatever genders, all sorts of genders that there are in the world. So a person is a man, he thinks he's a cow, he's a man, he's a female cow, and then he redefines a cow, whatever it is, everyone's redefining who they are. Right? But what's the truth? Is the truth? There's no truth. Whatever you think. You want to wake up tomorrow, you want to be a monkey, you're a monkey. You want to be a tree, you're a tree. You want to be male, female, this, the woman, what is it? A hermaphrodite. Anything that you want to do, everything goes. But it's a lie. The fact is, it's a lie. So what happens when the truth is revealed? Isn't that boring? Come on, that's the truth. Here I had a choice of 534 sexes, the genders, and now I can only choose one. That's not fair. That makes life boring, right? Doesn't it? So the answer is, listen, if that's where all of your attention is on this little ridiculous detail and everything else is meaningless, so yes, you're right, it's true. One is just, but on the other hand, once you're free of all these lies, then a whole new world of possibilities opens. You can get married, you can have children. Each child has his own needs, his own desires, his own personality. You have to show them love. You can receive love from them. You have obligations, you have responsibility, you become a human being. And that's the whole thing. In the future, this level of true Jewish identity will be revealed in every Jew. Then every Jew will feel his true responsibility to God. Jewish identity is responsibility. Human identity is responsibility. Jews will feel responsible to God to do all the commandments of the Torah. The non-Jews will feel responsible to God to do what's called the 7 Noahide commandments with all their details. So then in the future, it says there's going to be more responsibility. People will feel more obligation to the world, to God, to themselves, to improve. They'll be free of all of this falseness and ignorance, which is not the case now. The spirit of insanity covers over the world. That's what it means, Ezrachi. That's what it means, Ezrachi. Now, why are we talking about all this? We're talking about revealing the name of God inside of every Jew, what's called face to face, inside to inside. What does it mean, inside to inside? That we're going to explain that. What is the blessing and what is the curse that's being given now? But that's what it means, masculine, Eitan, Ezrachi, that King David said in his Psalms. Ezrachi, masculine means this inner level of the soul, to be aware of Eitan, of the essence of the soul, to be aware. And then Ezrachi means I will shine. Zoreach means shine. Also, the word Ezrach means a permanent dweller. Ezrach ha'oretz, sheyesh b'kol echad v'echad. Every single Jew has this level, me'az u'me'olam, a permanent dweller, ki Yisrael. Inside of the Jews, olu b'machshava, that's the definition of a Jew. They rose up in God's thought. B'makorah dekula, in the source of everything. U'bechin zu, and this level is the Yud of God's name. That's what said God's name is Yud, and then Hey, and then Vav and Hey. Well, that's the Yud. The Yud of God's name that he gave to us, he put inside of us face to face, or inside to inside, that he gave to us in Mount Sinai. This is the 4 letters of God's name. These are 4 aspects of our consciousness, personality. The Yud is this aspect, we said, of identity, responsibility, conscience, something above understanding. He said, look and say, etc., etc., etc. There's your word to look, and we can look for more. Here we go. That's the level of Yud. Bechinat Hey, this level of Hey, what God's name is Yud. Yud is Chachma, we said. What is that? That's faith, if you want to call it. Connection to God above understanding. Infinitely powerful, unshakable awareness and certainty that God exists. That's the Yud. The letter Hey. In the future, this will be revealed, but right now it's in a dormant state in every Jew. But Bechin is Hey, the level of Hey. Hey Eloah, the first Hey of God's name. He Bechin is Bina. This is what's called Bina. Understanding. Rechovos HaNahar, the widening of the river. The Yud of God's name is our connection to God above and beyond understanding, above and beyond comprehension. Stubborn insistence on the truth and feeling what the truth is, that God exists, that God gave the Torah. There's a joke, I'll tell you a joke. Just remember this joke. There was a boy that couldn't go to sleep. He had problems with sleep. Well, his mother came into a psychiatrist and said, "Doctor, I heard you're the best psychiatrist in the world. This could be $1,000 an hour. Can you heal my son?" He said, "I don't know. Let's hear what's wrong with him. He doesn't sleep. He can't sleep. He has insomnia. He refuses to sleep. I took treatments and pills and massages and meditations and doctors and blessings, everything, nothing works. Can you help?" He says, "I think I can help." Pay up front. Pays up front, $1,000, goes in. "Okay, young man, stand up. Okay, now listen to me." He tells his mother, stand in the corner. "Listen to me. Sit down on the bed." Sits down. Put one leg up on the bed, one leg up. Now put the second leg up on the bed, second leg up. Lay down, lay down. Close one eye, close the second eye. You're feeling heavy. You're getting more and more tired. You're thinking about pleasant things. You're thinking about the sky, thinking about the darkness, the infinite darkness. Say infinite darkness 7 times. Infinite darkness. Slower, infinite darkness. Okay, you're getting higher, you're getting tired. Now go to sleep. You are sleeping. You will sleep for 10 hours. Go to sleep. Sure enough, the boy is laying like that. Like that. Says to his mother, "Doctor, you're wonderful. Thank you very much." Because as soon as the doctor goes out and closes the door, the boy opens up his eye and he says, "Tell me, is that maniac gone? Is he out of here?" In other words, he could pretend, right? He could pretend. But in fact, the boy was awake. The same thing a Jew. A Jew, he can pretend. But in the end, afterwards, we're Jews. No matter what's going to happen, right? You're not Jewish, you change your religion, you're this, you don't believe in that. But in the end, one day the Jews are going to say, "Are all those maniacs gone? The world is..." That's the Yud. Above understanding. Awake, to be awake. Okay, that's the letter Yud. Awareness. The letter Hey, this is understanding. He bechinas bina, understanding, what's called the wideness of the river. Sheyesh lo orach v'rochav, it's long and it's wide. This is already personality, opening up your intellect, your attitudes. Hainu, inyan is bonus, to think deeply, begodlus Hashem, the greatness of God. Kol chad, each one according to his ability. Eichu b'shamayim, how God is in heavens, mimal, above, on the earth, below. Ein, there's nothing except for God. V'kula kamei, and everything in front of God, kalo chashiv, is like nothing. Ubeit b'chinatelu, these 2 levels. This faith, which is above understanding, not in the category of understanding, it's above, that's the Yud, and understanding and contemplating God, which is called the Hey of God's name. Both of them have to be constantly. It's the lot of a person in serving God. Believe pirud, without any separation. In other words, God exists, every human being exists. God created us in a way we do not naturally feel God. And if we do, that's the letter Yud, feeling God, then we don't interpret it properly. That's the letter Hey. So these 2 have to be constantly connected. A feeling of God and an understanding what this feeling means, what it implies. On these 2 levels, which is called Chachma and Bina, if you want to call it concept and understanding, these 2 levels, Ita B'Zohar, it says in the Zohar, Shein Train Ram, that they are 2 friends, the Lomit Parshim, that will never separate. The Chachma and Bina, the proper concept of God and the proper understanding of that concept. Lochen, therefore, tzorech liot gam ba'adam, have to be in a person also the same thing. Hainu lihid bonen, we have to contemplate olamik and to deepen our mind and our understanding ba'orech barochev, deeply and widely into what God is. So according to how much your understanding can grasp. ulevatel, and to surrender ourselves and to be harmonious with God, uledavkabo, and to cling to Him, b'mesirut nefesh, by giving over our soul to Him totally, b'bechinas chachma, which is above ma'atam v'dat, devotion. Right? Once a person feels how good music is, he devotes himself to it. Another person hears music that doesn't do anything. He hears Indian music. Oh, that's it. He becomes devoted to that. Other people, music doesn't say nothing to them. Dancing. Oh, this is it. It touches something inside of it. Okay, but that's just the beginning of it. That's just opens up something that is. He doesn't understand why. He just suddenly loves, Baroque music. He can't stand any other music. That's the music he likes, right? He likes rock and roll music only from the 80s. Who knows what? Other music, it touches him, something touches him. Lahavdil, here we're talking about God, especially the Jewish people. Every Jew is fired up by God. He has the concept of God, but it could be hidden. It could be doesn't feel it. It's not the same thing as music or art or whatever. You can't just hear it with your ears. You have to, all of a sudden, a flash comes, right? That's the letter Yud. Then the letter Hey, that's understanding what this is. Understanding it, and sometimes it comes the other way around. You have to first of all understand, and after understanding, you think into it. Is God really creating me? God really gave the Torah. God really creates all existence. There is such a thing. What does it mean? You start to think about it, that comes to the you. In any case, they both have to be joined together. She'im lo yeyelo bechinas bittul, because if you don't have the surrender to God, the letter Yud, azai then afilu im yidbonen, no matter how much a person thinks about God, kafi kocho, he won't, kafi kocho, the yoled, and he gives birth to it, love and fear, lo yelem kiyum amiti, it won't be true. V'yipom v'dregoso, and he'll fall from his level. In other words, you think about, let's say, for instance, you think about, or you read a book that it favors Napoleon, how wonderful a person was, how he was misunderstood, how he was, maligned by the press and by history and by people who don't like him. Because so in the end, who talks about Napoleon? The people who he tried to defeat, or his enemies. And now you come to love him. Oh, you start to realize what a wonderful person he was, and you start to cry about how great and how fantastic he was in this. And then you close the book, and that's it. Because it's not really real. It's not anything, even though you believe it so, it's not really you. It's not really you. And somebody even can come along and say, well, you believe that book? That guy, that fellow has been disproved. All of a sudden, you don't believe it. Because it's not really you. But if you feel that God is really creating you, if you feel that I am being created by God, and you really feel that this is the truth, I mean, everybody's here, everybody exists. Who says I'm being created? But there's a few maniacs that think that maybe I am being created. And those maniacs are the Jews. And they've been holding on to this insane idea for thousands of years. And they not only believe that they're being created, but that God also gave them the Torah. That's what's called Chachma. It makes no sense. It's above understanding. But if that's a genuine feeling, but if it's not understood, then what are you supposed to do with this feeling? What are you supposed to do with the feeling? Maybe you can write books, maybe give passionate speeches, but it has to come into understanding what this means. It means God really gave the Torah. It means we have to do what it says in the Torah. It means we have to understand what it says in the Torah. We have to come to love God. We have to come to fear God. That's already understanding. But if you have just the understanding alone, then it's like the person who understands Napoleon and loves him. It's not really him. So you have to have both. Yud means God spoke to us face to face. The inside of God, I feel that's my inside. But then there has to be Bina. Bina means how I can utilize this feeling. That's the Hey of God's name. And if you don't have this bittul, then no matter how much you have, you're not going to have true love and fear. It'll go away. As we're going to talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. This is pretty interesting. No, you know what? Let's finish this. Ki chachma, this level of chachma, we said the yud, tichiyeh ba'aleha. It says it enliven. I think this is a sentence from Mishlei, from Proverbs. Chachma enliven, or is it from the book of Job? I'll look and see. Pirush, what does it mean? Ba'aleha, targum ba'al mara v'ribon. Ba'aleha means, it says the wisdom enlivens those who have it. What does it mean, those who have it? Means Hainu afilu ma sheyesh lo bechinas memshala ala ora mi bechinas zu ki hitbonenu begdolat Hashem b'harchava ba'omek yesh lo maila v'yatera al bechinas bitol shemi bechinas chachma. Chachma enlivens its owner. What does it mean, owner? The owner, that's understanding it. Understanding godliness, that's the owner. But the life inside of this understanding has to come from Chachma, has to come from this inner feeling, and this is what we're going to continue tomorrow. Now let's do the Dvar Malchut.